Today, I want to talk about presidents versus kings. How can astrology give us some insight into some of the dilemmas that humans are facing at this moment in time, this year 2024, especially as we grapple with some of these questions in the United States? And taking a look today, a bird's eye view from the outer planets and breaking down a little bit what they can tell us about where we're at and what it means for us and our self-care, how we can think about this moment in time as an opportunity to become more of who we are. I'm Marina Orms here with your Astro Vibe, Astro Perspective for Sunday, July 28th. So taking a broader view today at the outer planets, looking at these bigger picture cycles that we are in the middle of in terms of how history is unfolding. What is our era about, right? What are the decades or the years about that we're in right now, as opposed to we look at here on this channel sort of the daily vibe, right? And where the moon is, because the moon moves very quickly. So it gives us more of a sense of what each day feels like. So looking at this bigger picture of where we're at, we have the planet Pluto, outer planet, that moves very slowly, spends sometimes decades in a sign of the zodiac, which, for perspective, the moon moves through a sign every 2 to 2.5 days. Why is that? That's because the moon is very close to Earth, and we see its movement, and it impacts us on a much more of a daily basis, as opposed to Pluto, which from our perspective is out there moving very slowly through our visible sky. So thinking about Pluto as a starting place, because the energies of how Pluto changes when it changes signs, which it's been in the slow process of doing. So Pluto into Aquarius has been the theme for the last couple of years, and we're continuing that process. So Pluto right now is in early Aquarius. Pluto is the planet that helps us access a deeper truth. In sort of psychological astrology, it refers to the deeper parts of the soul, the parts that might be hidden, the parts of us that that we can't see, right? They're in the unconscious. And so doing Pluto work for an individual, and when we have Pluto transits in our charts, has to do with how we look at what has been in our unconscious, bring that into our consciousness so we can see it, talk about it, understand it, right? And feel it, right? And that helps the energy to move and shift, which is healing, helps us to release some old burdens, change patterns, and feel lighter. So what does that mean for the collective? So right now, for everyone, Pluto is in Aquarius. Pluto is the planet of truth and power and transformation. And so it's bringing what has been in the shadow to light. And that's true for the collective, for society, for humanity, as we have this experience of what we have been able to suppress or repress or ignore, is in our faces for us to deal with. And so since 2008, when Pluto went into Capricorn, we've had this shadow work, so to speak, being done in the collective for society around authority and how we relate to authority, specifically government, and any kind of system, right? Any kind of institution. So the ways that our systems, our structures, our infrastructures, our organizations, our systems and institutions are asking us to really look deeper at what what they're built on, how we created them that we're not even thinking about anymore, right? Because it's so automatic or so part of the norm. But what about if we started to look at it and think about it? So we have this opportunity to bring what has been hidden or needs work from the deeper recesses of our collective experience into awareness, into a place where we can do something about it. So here we have surfacing of some hard realities, right? Some deeper problems that have been stewing and brewing in society for a long time. In fact, the United States had its Pluto return last year, and so how the United States is processing its, deeper demons and needing to update and upgrade its systems, its structures, its government, is really what that Pluto in Capricorn time is and was about. And if you think back to 2008, we had a new president, and it was our first African American president for the United States. So we still haven't had our first woman president, but you can see how some of these themes of, what about that? What about some of these deeper issues in society that we haven't wanted to face or haven't been pushed into having to face now come to the surface? So Capricorn authority, makes us think about authoritarianism. It makes us think about who is our leader and what kind of leader do we want, and what are our choices, and what are the pros and cons of our different leaders, right? And so you can see how in the collective we are grappling with that question. And some people want to move forward, right, and create a more diverse, equal, free society. And other people want to go back to the past and where they knew how things worked and everybody knew their place and there was a hierarchy and it all, worked for some people, I guess. So that it's that grappling in society that is what is happening. And as Pluto now goes from Capricorn, which is serious, hardworking, really asking us to face some hard truths, some hard questions, confront our relationship with authority. Now, Pluto is in the process of going into Aquarius, which is much more asking us to think about freedom, equality, diversity, right? Diversity of individuals, individuality being our own, being who we are, right? Each person has their own quirks and differences and weirdnesses, and the beauty of the world is made up of all of that, right? So we've got that theme about, and that's Pluto in Aquarius is really asking us to work together with our communities at grassroots levels in terms of thinking about freedom and rights and equality and some of the ideals and promises of the United States of America from our our original founding documents that were actually created during times when quite a few types of people didn't have the right to vote or even the right to be considered human beings. So we enter into this Pluto in Aquarius time, which is asking us to think about, what does freedom look like? And we have this question of, do we want a president or do we want a king? And what is the difference? And so that is part of what is going on, is that we are grappling with that. And as Pluto, which is now retrograde, is going to go back into Capricorn. It's now in Aquarius, right? Getting us to think about the future and progress and progressive movements and values come to the forefront. And as Pluto goes retrograde back into the final degree of Capricorn, we've got some work to finish up there. some themes and ideas and processes that got put underway with Pluto in Capricorn. Now we have this return to Pluto in Capricorn, where we're going to confront some of those things and have an opportunity to even further, bring some completion, maybe think about how we want to solve some problems, maybe confront some more of the hidden truths, or some of the dark side of human nature and our country, or whatever ways that is showing up, because it can show up in multiple different ways. So the shadow side, it's shadow work, and it's shadow work having to do with systems, structures, institutions, who is in charge, right? That question, who is in charge and what do we entrust them with? And so asking that question of how do we give away our power is really the deeper question here. Do we want someone to come in and take care of everything for us, where we don't have to take responsibility? Do we want that father figure, that authority figure, that authoritarian representative to come in, tell us what to do, control us, decide how things are going to be? That is the choice we're facing. And are we willing to work for the opposite? If we really want freedom, if we really want democracy, are we willing to roll up our sleeves and participate, right? So what happens there, and this is what Pluto and Capricorn has been teaching us, ultimately, if we are paying attention, is it's reminding us that we are the authority. So the individuals, you, me, all of us have the ability to reclaim our power and to stand in that authority that is inherent within us, that we can cultivate, that we can believe in, that we can trust in. And so as we think about making these choices, we have to, each of us, think about what that means for us. And of course, astrology, there are lots of people who want to know, what does astrology say is going to be the outcome of the election, and who's going to win, and all those kinds of questions. And honestly, that is not the kind of astrology I do. I see astrology as giving us information about the qualities of energy that are present, which gives us some choices about how we respond. And so this, to me, in my mind, we don't know the outcome yet, and we're not supposed to. That's because we're creating it. So we get to participate and find our authority and reclaim our power and participate in this process, right? This process of deciding who we are, deciding who's going to be our leader, how we want to do this, how we want our government to work, how we want our systems and structures to take care of us, right? And having our own power to participate in helping to create that. So Aquarius energy is a vision for the future. It is, again, it's progressive. It has to do with the future. And so having a future orientation is going to be really the most powerful as Pluto continues in Aquarius. And after November 19th of this year, Pluto returns back to Aquarius, where it will be for the next 19, 20 years. So this is us, right? Other than a few weeks in 2024 between September 1st and November 19th, when Pluto returns to Capricorn briefly to remind us that we have some more work to do. We have some themes to bring completion to. We have some decisions to make about who we are, what we want to stand in, how we want to view authority, and really what is our own relationship to that authority. So, do we see authority as something that should be serving us and our needs, or do we see that authority as being something that we just give up our power to and allow to make decisions for us? So I mean, without getting into bigger philosophical questions, which everybody's got their opinions and so on. But thinking about the energies right now as this opportunity to bring completion to this Pluto in Capricorn work, there are important themes here that have to do um, with who is a person, what does it mean to be a person, what do people get to do, how do people take charge of the things they want, yeah, and so it's ultimately going to be about that freedom and that individuality, or it's going to be about, the other possibility for Pluto in Aquarius is rebellion and turning into some sort of permanent resistance, or in a locked in experience of power struggle and fighting for freedom. So if we do our work with Pluto in the final degree of Capricorn and make choices about who we are and reclaim our power, we can create some of the higher possibilities of Pluto in Aquarius. I'm not saying what will happen or what it will look like. I'm saying these are the themes that are present. This is how we can work with them consciously. So that is Pluto in Aquarius, and thinking about how we want to be, what we want, and where we have choice, where we are at choice, how we can work together with our fellow human beings as individuals in our beautiful diversity to create the future and its possibility, right? We do not have to recreate the past because we've got new possibilities dwelling in the future where we can claim them for ourselves. So that's Pluto. Neptune also in the final degree of Pisces. We've got Neptune retrograde now, really asking us to grapple with our narrative, our mythology. So questions of who are we? How do we do things? What is our story? Right? What is the story of being human? What is our story of how we create history during this time period when things are in shakeup and change? Which another outer planet is Uranus going through Taurus. The Uranus stays in a sign for 7 years. So we've got Uranus in Taurus. It will be shifting into Gemini next year. But this work of Uranus in Taurus is the work of bringing change to our everyday lives. It is the work of shaking things up, shift and change in our normal, in our routine, because that's what Taurus is. Taurus is about stability. It's about sustainability. So we have to change, because if we keep doing things the way we have been, we're not going to, make the most of this time at the very least. So that energy of Uranus is reminding us that yes, we have to let go of our attachments. It's going to shake things up. We feel this sense of being destabilized, of shift and change, unpredictability. And that is certainly true and will continue to be true. Things could continue to be shaken up and unfold in surprising ways. So sort of expect the unexpected, but remember that what it's doing is it's asking us to step up and create the future we want to see. And that starts from within ourselves. And the first place we do that is in believing in it. So our ability to imagine, believe in the future, the things we want, then we can step into, well, what do I do if I want that future to happen? How do I show up? How do I do my life? What ways can I help with movements that are important to me, or get involved in helping my community? So whatever that looks like for you, this is the time, and you probably already have been thinking about that, but really that's what we're doing right now. And so that shakeup, that change to our normal is happening. It's bringing in themes of freedom, of equality, of individuality, shakeup, change. And so we have this, on the one hand, this feeling of instability, and on the other hand, this, if we are willing to open to it, this incredible sense of possibility and potential. And that is the feeling of hope that helps us to create the future, because we're not sitting around waiting to see if it's going to be okay. We get to decide. We decide through our actions, our choices, our willingness to believe, and how we show up matters. So believe in what feels important to you, connect with it, talk to your friends about it, right? Like, not just, what you're afraid of, but what you want to see happen. Formulate it in terms of positive thoughts, positive outcomes, positive, the positive that you want to see rather than the negative that you don't want to see. So there is also, I have shared a video on here that goes into a little bit more about the astrology of election day, the astrology of the Scorpio new moon that happens prior to election day, and some of the energies and dynamics at play. So I recommend that video as well for a deeper insight into the dynamics that are happening around the election. And so again, when I recorded that video, things have changed in terms of the who's running for office, and the some of the way that things have shaped up, but the energy remains the same, right? It's still the question. And so I'm going to put the link to that video for the astrology of election day in the description for this video, so you can go watch that one as well if you missed it, or maybe if you saw it, you want to rewatch it. Because it is talking about a, really the question and the issue here is, whose story are we going to tell? And what is the mythology of being American, right? Of being human, really, in the bigger picture, but also, what do we want that to be? What do we want that to look like? So again, we have the choice. And taking care of yourself, which is what I talk about here, right? How you support yourself, how you keep yourself going is really important, because this is a long process. And I shared in one of my videos recently about the outer planets that this is a long game, right? It is not going to be over with the election. No matter what happens, there's going to be more work to do. We need to think about that future. And when we think in terms of what we want to build, we have, we get that momentum moving toward creating, right? Rather than resisting. Resisting or trying to avoid the worst case scenario, right? We can actually use this time to create the positive things we want to see, and get excited about what we can do when we put our minds to it, when we see ourselves as capable, when we reclaim our power and step into and own who we are. So the question of president versus king might be a question in the collective, right now. But I would say at a deeper level, the question is, how are you going to step into your leadership? What does that look like for you? And as I always say, you know, there's not one way of being a leader. Being a leader means you believe in yourself. It means you're not afraid to be who you are. And just by doing that, you are a role model to others. And then from there, you can ask yourself, hey, if I were fully being myself, what would I do? How would I do this? What would I do next? How would I take care of myself? So those questions can help you make the most of this time. Step into your own leadership as you reclaim your authority, which is really ultimately what this is about. And the question of, you know, authority, authoritarianism, patriarchy, hierarchy, uh, the things that happen in society that make some people better than others. It's a deciding that you have that power and ability to be who you are, and the absolute right to be who you are. Because if you don't have a right to be who you are, what do you have? Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Check out that other video. I'll put it in the description here about the astrology of election day for more. And thank you for being here. Thank you for taking care of yourself and being who you are here to be, because the world needs you. And I'm Marina Orms. You can learn more about me at astrologyheals.com. Check out a reading offer I have to support you in your process of discovering who you are, how you can contribute to freedom, democracy, and the things you want most, the things you value the most, and how to participate from what your chart tells you about what you're learning and how you're growing. So check that out. It's $97 for that reading. The link is in the description for this video. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing. And again, my website is astrologyheals.com. I will see you next time with more astrology for unshakable self-care. Bye for now.